Hey everybody, this is Stu Smith with another Tactical Fitness Report. This time just myself and top 10 questions that you guys have asked me over the last couple of years, primarily focusing on tactical fitness, but also some Spec Ops level fitness questions as well. Um, let's just get right to it. I'm also creating an article, and by the time this video posts, I'll have the article done and the link to these questions will be in the description, as well as a text answer along with some other video and articles to further answer the question. So here we go. First question is, what are top 3 tips you'd give someone who is struggling with fitness test preparation? First of all, I hate tips. I hate secrets. I hate hacks. So when someone asks me for tips, I first just kind of cringe a little bit because I hate them because there's nothing sexy about the process of getting better at fitness testing and selection prep and boot camp preparation, anything in those lines, nothing sexy about it because it takes hard work, consistent effort, and training even when you don't feel like it. That's my first answer. Second answer, we all have a weakness coming into this journey. My personal weakness, I was a powerlifting football player, lots of speed, some agility, um, but strong and powerful. However, calisthenics and cardio were not my favorite things to do. So, what did I do whenever I joined and went to the Naval Academy? I did not focus on my calisthenics and cardio like I should have because my first fitness test I failed. And I didn't make the football team. So, boom, boom, 2 failures right from the start was not a good start. Um, so, my advice is don't double down on a strength. Actually assess yourself, find out what your weaknesses are, and then get on a plan to focus on those weaknesses. If you're coming from a strength background, I can almost guarantee you your weakness will be calisthenics and cardio, multiple forms of cardio, running, rucking, swimming, whatever that is. Um, but you'll also have some strengths coming in. You'll probably be stronger than most people if you're coming from that strength and power background, even if you decide to not lift for 6 to 8 months prior to joining, you're still going to have some residual strength that will be above average. So you just need to make sure you don't have anything below average because if you do, it will be exposed. Mine was exposed within the first week of showing up at Plebe Summer at the Naval Academy. Now, the second test I maxed because I learned learned some techniques, learned some pacing drills, and got better and slowly got better to a point where I was crushing calisthenics and cardio fitness tests, getting better with my endurance, and still maintaining strength. So that's that's the thing. And the one thing that you have to realize is that when you're focused primarily on fitness test preparation, which you should be if you have a test coming up, this is phase one of tactical fitness, getting to the training. That means specifically training for whatever fitness test that allows a session into that job. And it may be competitive, so you may want to perform well. You do not ever want to take the fitness test for the first time officially in front of the people who are grading you. You want to take it multiple times. That's where workouts like this, where we focus on the PST specifically, it's a 12-week program. There's also the human performance test in there where we focus on that. Those are 2 fitness tests that you will see somewhere in your Navy journey. Now, they're that important to train specifically for because if you don't, you're going to leave that weakness behind. You don't train that weakness, you're going to fail something, not be competitive, may not even get accepted into the program. Another one is like Air Force Special Warfare, crush the IFT. That's the initial fitness test. That's your first step into these communities. And if you don't take it seriously and you're doing other things like doubling down on those power lifts while you're trying to get better at running, swimming, and calisthenics, guess what? Probably not going to see results in either. Either your lifting or your cals and cardio. So focus, focus, focus. That's my answer if you want a tip for fitness test prep. All right, so let's see. Next question. So many aspiring candidates focus on strength training. That is true. How important is endurance, like swimming and running, and overall spec operations fitness test? Well, I think I just answered that question a little bit, but I'll go into a little more in depth. If you don't know how to run or swim, you're not going to pass this fitness test. If you don't know how to run or swim, you're not going to pass this fitness test. It's that important. You don't pass the fitness test, you don't enter into these programs. So endurance is important. Now, this is still phase one of tactical fitness. We're preparing for as little as a 500-yard or meter fitness test. Officers have to go in the Air Force 1,500 meters, a little bit different. They also have to do 3-mile run. Marines have to do 3-mile runs. Navy PSTs, 1.5 miles, Army's 2-mile runs. So there is a significant amount of running that if you're not, put it this way, if you think 1.5 miles, 2 miles, or 3 miles is long distance running, you're not in the right mindset to take these fitness tests, period. Because they're not long distance running. Long distance running will probably be what you're going to see when you get accepted into these programs, and you'll see weekly 4-mile timed runs at Budge. You'll see 4, 5, 6-mile runs and rucks in Air Force and Army Special Warfare. All of those will have significant amounts of running. Marine Recon and MARSOC, all the same, lots of running and rucking in there. Endurance is very important. Now, do you need to focus on strength training? Absolutely, especially if you're an endurance athlete. I'm going to give you the opposite scenario of what I just told you for question number one, is focus on that weakness. So if you come in with an endurance background, whether it's running, swimming, rowing, whatever you do that is high endurance, biking, triathlon, all of those, chances are you've got that aerobic base nailed down. You're solid. You may not be fast on shorter runs like 1.5 miles, but that's okay. You can get faster pretty quickly. You can probably get better at calisthenics pretty quickly because endurance and muscle stamina are two elements of fitness that work really well together. However, you're probably lacking strength and maybe even some muscle mass and just regular body weight size, because you need some strength to help you with durability. The durability that you gain from strength training is going to help you handle rucking heavy weights, equipment carries, logs and boats, all of those things. People, when you're fireman carrying someone, you're not going to get crushed if you have a foundation of strength to that. So you may need strength training if that is one of your weaknesses. However, if you're coming from a strength and power background, you may not need a whole lot of strength training. You may just need to do it every month for a few days just to maintain some strength while you're working on your calisthenics and cardio. However, you're most likely going to have to reduce your endurance training if you're an endurance athlete, because if you're a runner, you may be used to 70 miles a week. You cut that in half at least, maybe even drop it down to 25 and focus on your gym training. Right? If you can do some, and then you may need to get better at swimming, so you can cut the running off a little more and do even more non-impact cardio and just focus on swimming as part of your cardio. You'll be a great runner regardless. And then focus on your lifting so you get a little stronger. You'll see some calisthenics building up. You'll see some strength and some size. You need to eat big. You need to lift big. All of those things are your personal journey to going into these tactical professions, especially if you have very challenging boot camps or selection programs in your future. So they're all important. So let me just share with you one thing If you are a strength athlete, for instance, that should be put on the back burner. Learn how to crush a fitness test. If you're an endurance athlete, endurance should be put on the back burner. Focus on your cals and your strength training and gaining some weight. This is not just for phase one of tactical fitness. Now we're starting to talk about preparing for phase two of tactical fitness, which is specifically training to get through your future training, which means buds, SWIC training, recon training, any selection program you're doing, Marine Corps boot camp. Boot camps are hard too. And depending on your fitness level, that may be a personal gut check for you, whatever boot camp that you're going to. Academies, police academy, fire academies, some are harder than others. But if you're out of shape, they're going to be really hard, because if you have a weakness, it will be exposed in those first few days of training. I promise you. All right, let's see what's next. Next question. Can you walk us through sample workout that targets both running and swimming for someone with limited experience in those areas? Sure. There's two workouts that I would highly recommend doing, but let's don't think about it as a sample workout. You need to get on a system, a program that is focusing on everything, understands the need for balance of calisthenics and strength training and endurance, multiple modes of endurance, running, rucking, swimming, um, and manage those in a way that you can actually see progress in all of them versus, hey, I'm going to focus on just running and swimming, and you disregard everything else. That's a way to build a new weakness in something and get sore, maybe even injured when you start training strength training or high rep calisthenics again. So get on a system that understands it. Systems like this. This is a great way to get in running and swimming shape, along with preparing for other pool skills and calisthenics fitness test and even some load bearing activities, swimming with fins. All of those things need to be understood in this journey. So, real quick, two of my favorite swim workouts that I give away for free. Some of my favorites are the 50-50. If you've never seen the 50-50 before, it's basically works like this. You warm up with a 500 yard or meter swim, and then you do, and if you can't do 500 meters without stopping, that's okay. Eventually you will, but that is your warm up, because one day I want you to be able to say, when you take a fitness test that's 500 yards long, oh, 500 yard swim test. That's just my warm up. That's a powerful mental tool right there. 50-50. Warm up with a 500 and then do 10 sets of 50 freestyle, hard. Skip, breathe, sprint, whatever you want. I want you winded from that freestyle. Then try to catch your breath with a 50 CSS. That is the 50-50 workout. You do that 10 times with minimal rest in between. You got yourself a workout that I promise you do that 4 or 5 times a week. You can drop from a 1030 to an 830 in less than a month. I've seen it happen dozens of times. There's another workout that I have called running workout to help you get to and through selection. There's it's like a 6-week running program. It's just an article. You can pull it up if you Google Stu Smith running workout to and through selection. I post it a lot on social media because it is a classic. It works everything. It works sprinting. It works goal pace running. It has hills in it. It has soft sand running in it. If you don't have either of those, you can do stair steppers. It's got bike workouts in it, mixed with bike and running, kind of like an old triathlon training program. Also has some long, slow distance if you want to do long, slow distance. Or if you don't want to do long, slow distance and add another 10 or 15 miles to your week, you can just mix it with non-impact cardio, still get the aerobic benefit without all the impact pain, especially if you're new to running or you're a bigger than average runner. Let's see. I guess that's number 3. So let's go on to number 4. So once again, strength is always a big question for you guys. but it's usually mixed in with cardio somehow. So strength matters. Yes, strength matters quite a bit. How do you recommend candidates balance building muscle with improving their cardio fitness? So I have a method to do it, and it works really well. And it is called seasonal tactical fitness block periodization. And this is a winter lift cycle that we do. And if you are weak, more of an endurance athlete, this is what I would recommend you to get. Or get my seasonal tactical fitness periodization fall or winter program. Looks like this. Here's the fall. I don't have a copy of my winter one. But they're all block periodization models, which simply means you're going to focus on a primary goal, which is strength training. All right, so strength training for 3 weeks. Now you're going to warm up with calisthenics, you're going to strength train, and you're going to cool down with some form of cardio. Not a lot of cardio, more faster paced cardio. So it's not going to eat you up, right? You'll still see strength gains and you'll maintain some cardio. Now, every 4th week, you're going to deload from lifting, no lifting at all, and you're going to do a calisthenics and cardio week. And this is just a great way to maintain some of those calisthenics and cardio numbers, maybe even see some improvement in them whenever you start testing again, because there's a couple of test weeks in here that many people were shocked that in the middle of a lift cycle, they were actually getting faster at running. Reason why is we were practicing fast running. So they learned how to move their legs a little bit faster, even though we were doing heavy lifts and trying to get bigger and gain some weight. Now, the other side of this equation, you're burning some calories anytime you add cardio to a strength training program. So you have to eat more. So you could literally gain weight on a marathon running program or even an ultra marathon running program, but you have to eat your ass off. Eat so much food that you can't lose weight. It's not that easy to do. It's not that fun to do, but if you eat calorie dense foods like peanut butters and milkshakes after meals and good proteins, avocado type fats and fish, all of those things are high calories that don't necessarily fill you up that much. But if you're trying to lose weight, you want to avoid those things. So it's two ends of that spectrum. So yes, strength does matter. So here's another question. I don't think I've answered this one in a while. So what common mistakes do you see people make when preparing for the fitness test? Well, I mentioned my mistake is that I just didn't practice sit-ups like I should have practiced sit-ups. I mean, I could do them fast, but I never really went for 2 minutes. Should have. Because I would have realized that I need some more stamina in my hip flexors to finish these sit-ups for 2 minutes. I did really well for the first 30 seconds. Got like 30 sit-ups, or no, I think I got 35 sit-ups in 30 seconds, but I couldn't get 35 more in the next minute and a half. So what's that tell you? My pace. So common mistakes is you don't practice what you're getting ready to test. And your workouts don't look like what you're ready to test. So if you're doing heavy lift cycle, powerlifting, not doing any calisthenics and running for your calisthenics and running test, chances are you're not going to do very well on your calisthenics and running test. I am living proof that happens. And if you don't focus specifically on it, you're not going to see those results. Same with lifting. You're not going to get stronger if you don't focus on lifting. Right? But you may need to not focus on lifting while you're trying to get better at higher repetition muscle stamina and cardiovascular endurance, running and swimming, if that's in your future fitness test. So that's the common mistakes. Just not having programs that look like an actual fitness test. This Navy PST workout looks like the Navy PST workout every day. I mean, there's a split routine, so where you do upper body, lower body cardio, so you're not doing pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups every day, but it is a system that allows you to push those numbers, recover from them, as well as work other things when you're not working calisthenics. You're working other cardio events. So that's the biggest mistake. People just don't focus specifically on what I call phase one of tactical fitness. All right, so here's another one. What common mistakes do you see people when preparing for boot camp, basic training, academies, or spec ops selections? Same answer, but this time for phase two of tactical fitness. Phase one got you to the training, right? You're going to be competitive enough to enter into these programs. That's all that phase one means. Phase two means you need some time focusing on what you know is coming. That means longer runs, rucks, swims with fins, treading tests, drown proofing test, buddy breathing with a snorkel if you're going Air Force, lots of treading if you're going to any diving school. Um, Rucking, load bearing activities. All of those things need to be part of your phase two tactical fitness. And if you don't know what that looks like, guess what? Here's phase two and three of tactical fitness. Now, this isn't phase two of tactical fitness. This is phase two and three of um, Navy SEAL prep. Um, and disregard the phase three. That's just a titling thing that I did a while back ago. Um, these used to be 6-week workouts. Then I created part two of it, which was 7 through 12, and I just combined them. And the title kind of stuck as phase two and three. But not to get confused with phase one to get to the training, phase two to get through the training, and phase three are active duty operator workouts, which are completely different from these. Unless you're preparing for a fitness test to get into a new selection, then you got to go to phase one, tactical fitness again, in order to specifically focus for that. And then there's probably going to be a screening after that. So you got to focus on that as well. So those are the common mistakes that people make prior to academies. They don't practice the fitness test enough to be good at it or even great at it. And there's a borderline possibility that you may fail it because you didn't practice it enough. And that's what I did on my first week of Naval Academy training. I'm glad that it wasn't a standard of like, you don't pass this, you don't stay, you get kicked out. That would have sucked. Luckily, by the end of plebe summer, I was maxing the fitness test. So there was something I learned there for sure. Uh, but other academies as well are challenging physically, and you need to prepare for phase two of tactical fitness, whether that's definitely a spec ops selection, but even boot camp, basic training, academies. All of those will be more challenging than the fitness test. So if you just train for the fitness test, you may not be thoroughly prepared for what's coming when you get to training. That's the number one common mistake that people make, regardless of whether they're strength athletes or endurance athletes. They're leaving a weakness undeveloped and they're going to get crushed by it. Whew. All right, next question. We all have a weakness. What's your best advice for turning a specific weakness into a strength? We're starting to get into some of these, but once again, focus on that weakness. And regardless, if you're using my seasonal tactical fitness approach, which is a great way to prepare for these, let's say you're an endurance athlete and it's summertime. And my summer training program is purely calisthenics and cardio, focusing on high rep calisthenics and long distance fast cardio, running, rucking, swimming. Well, that may not be the phase for you. And just because it doesn't match with my seasonal approach, you need to jump into when we focus primarily on strength and power, speed, and agility, just so you can take that weakness and start focusing specifically as your primary goal. Remember, your secondary goal will be to maintain your cardio and calisthenics because you're good at endurance and muscle stamina. Because, as a tactical athlete, this is a new term in the last 10 years. Tactical athlete just means military, law enforcement, firefighter. You need to be good at everything. And that means power, strength, speed, agility, muscle stamina, endurance, multiple modes of endurance, flexibility, mobility, grip, pool skills if you're going into the water. Um, so all of those need to be thoroughly developed. And if I might have said mobility and flexibility, that's one that you need to work regardless of what your job's going to be, because it will help you with just feeling better and helping you recover from the previous day's workouts and not being necessarily overly sore so you can't move the next day. At least I found it that way. When I do mobility days, I feel no pain, and it's been a life-changing process. Okay, here's a fun one, though I'm not a nutritionist. Can you explain the significance of nutrition and recovery throughout the tactical fitness phases? Well, I will tell you this. Phase one, getting to the training, nutrition is so important on fitness testing because you are going to probably peak in your abilities, and you're going to use whatever fuel that you have eaten and that you have stored in your body from previous meals to use as fuel for that test. And if you're not prepared for fueling up before the test, during the test, and after normal workouts, you may lack some of the fuel that allows you to perform optimally, right, at your best. So nutrition is so important on that part. Recovery side, yes, you need to have a balanced workout routine to where you're actually recovering on post running and swimming days, and not necessarily not swimming and running, just doing something a little bit different. You need to maybe have a split routine that's smart, upper body, lower body, or maybe push pull leg. Those are two great split routines. You can go full body cardio split too, if you want to do it that way. Depending on your schedule and your abilities, your splits may need to adjust somewhat. So yeah, if you're not fueled, you will perform poorly. Now that also goes with getting through the training. If you're not eating well before you start the day, you're not snacking on foods. I always carried peanut butter and honey and apple slices and had bananas in my locker. So whenever I had a minute in between evolutions, I was chowing down on something and drinking water and adding electrolytes, especially when it's hot, and sweating profusely. Those right there to get to and through the training are that important. Definitely that important for nutrition. Um, Active duty operator phase three, when it is your job, yes, you need the fuel through nutrition, but you also need to start um, understanding recovery. And you probably will have learned a lot about recovery during phase two when you're going through these selections, because you're doing everything you can to enhance recovery. That means sleeping when you can, good nutrition sources, uh, adding extra food to it, so you have more calories, so you're not withering away, um, over the weekends. Also depends on your training. I know there are some trainings out there that restrict nutrition, maybe 2 MREs a day, and that's a tough one. But that's what these training programs are for. They're testing your grit. Whenever you can't eat and you can't recover, you know, what you have to do is try to find ways to recover. And that's really getting creative with your massage guns and your foam rollers and your hydration, electrolytes. All of those things need to be on point. Otherwise, you will see declining performance in all areas across the board. So that is how important nutrition and recovery are throughout the tactical fitness phases. In fact, let me just share with you 3 recovery tools that I think are the big 3. Sleep, number 1. When you're training, you need to focus on your sleep. Period. 7, 8 hours a night, no brainer. You need to do that if you want to fully recover. 2, nutrition, good foods, good proteins, good vegetables and fruits for carbs. even grains, good tight grains, um, and fats. Omega threes, uh, avocado, peanut butters, nuts. All of those are high in calories and can really help fuel you to and through training programs. Um, so listen to that. Food, sleep, nutrition, and the last one is breathing. You're going to have some high stress moments when you're going through training, when you're doing your job as an active operator. You need to be able to control some anxiety by focusing on your breathing. Big inhales, big exhales, box breathing. Those are just some real easy ways to down regulate and go from a really charged nervous system to a more relaxed nervous system so you can think clearer and actually engage that creative part of your brain to understand and finish problems. That is where the big three come in, and they're all related to stress. They will all help you recover from physical stress, mental stress, emotional stress, work stress, job performance stress, family stress. They all three are three natural tools to do that. So all of those need to be in balance. One of them out of balance, you're going to start tipping the scale. That's a good one. All right. For those feeling discouraged, how can they stay motivated and keep um, pushing through their training plateaus? Um, you know what? Motivation isn't what you're looking for, to be honest with you. We're all motivated when we get inspired. Sometimes we get inspired daily. Sometimes we don't get inspired, but once a month. Um, and that usually brings in some motivation to go do stuff. However, when you're training, like I said at the beginning of this process is not sexy. It requires hard work and dedication and consistency, and training when you don't feel like it, training when you're not motivated, right? So when you are motivated and inspired, build good habits because those habits will turn into discipline. And when they turn into discipline, you now have a different set of standards that get you to finishing a workout or even starting a workout when you don't want to. So motivation's fine. We all get motivated. We all have some inspiration to go serve in some way, but we're not motivated every single day, so you can't rely on it. You need to rely on your discipline. And you do that by building habits through consistent training. And it's not easy. You know, that's why a lot of people don't make it through some of these training programs or any fitness goal because it requires consistency through habits and discipline. So get off the motivated. Here's one thing I use my little sayings when it comes to people who say, "Hey, I just can't get motivated to train. I want to serve. What should I do?" I usually do this. It's a little bit of reverse psychology, but it is basically me saying, "Well, if your life, your buddy's life, or someone else's life you're trying to save is directly linked to your fitness ability, your tactical skills that you've learned under stress. If if all of those are basically dependent on you being a fit and skilled operator, if you can't find the motivation to train to get to that level of fitness, then you should consider another job, period, because it is that important. Your life, your buddy's life, people you're trying to serve, their lives are in your hands. So do yourself a favor, work out even when you don't feel like it. All right. So finally, where can your listeners find more resources and personalized training programs to help them crush their fitness test? Well, I've been showing those throughout the entire show. So you guys know we're at um, Stu Smith Fitness. You can find me on TikTok, Stu Smith 50, lots of CSS critiques. You can find me at um, StuSmithFitness.com. You can email me, stu@stusmith.com. In fact, if you use the Live15 coupon code, you'll save 15% on books and ebooks. But yeah, I appreciate you watching. If you have questions, um, just email me. Since this isn't live, I can't do it, but I'll be back on Tuesday this week to normally it's Monday and Tuesday to do live Q&As at 9:30. So check it out. Sign up on the YouTube channel. You can also find it on my Facebook pages as well. And I'm on Instagram. I'll go live on Instagram as well. But you can always find all of my live Q&As here on my YouTube channel. So there you go, folks. I guess that's it. Live15 coupon code saves you 15%. Go check it out at stewsmithfitness.com. Until next time, you guys have a good one.